In this video, I will be ranking all 96 tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is 100% based on my personal opinion, and a lot of people seem to disagree with me, so if your favorite track ends up on like the bottom half of this list, don't be too upset because that was bound to happen. I will be trying to go through this as fast as possible, but there are 96 tracks, so it's going to be a little bit hard to do that. If I don't really explain one super well and you want further explanation, just join my Discord server and ping me, and I might or might not respond and give a full explanation. But without further ado, here we go. London Loop is genuinely my least favorite track in the game. I think it's horrible, the graphics are terrible, the music's bad, the layout is just obnoxious, and the third lap is way too freaking long. Berlin Byways has pretty much all the same issues that London Loop has, but at least there's a womp that falls down, just like the Berlin Wall fell down, so I guess that's kind of funny. Rainbow Road is a huge missed opportunity. This thing looks kind of bland and really stupid. I'm not really sure why they did the space station theme. It's just such a missed opportunity with anti-gravity. Twisted Mansion is extremely annoying. Water Park is just really bland and doesn't have a lot going on for it. Mario Circuit is just incredibly empty, and it's kind of fun, but after you've played it like twice, you've done the whole thing basically. Ninja Hideaway is extremely overrated, the music is annoying, the graphics are terrible, and the 90-degree turns are just not fun, and it's not a skill issue, it's just not how Mario Kart was meant to be played. New York Minute has a lot of the same problems. It's got horrible 90-degree turns, and the graphics are awful, and it's just really not all that inspired. Tokyo Blur is not all that much better, and it doesn't help that each lap seems to be a way different length, so it's just really weirdly paced. Sky High Sundae doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. I guess what I really hate is how much of it you're going uphill and can't really see what's in front of you. Sydney Sprint genuinely looks like it's a Fisher-Price toy. It is extremely plastic and really not all that interesting. Waluigi Stadium has a problem that a lot of the DLC tracks have, where for some reason the textures are just not matching. The ground looks like this oddly HD texture that just doesn't match with anything else. Singapore Speedway is just a mess. I know a lot of people really love this track, but I feel like they just stuck together a bunch of random things and hoped it would work. N64 Rainbow Road is admittedly a very nostalgic playthrough, but it is a little short and there's just not a whole lot going on for it. DK Mountain might go down in history as the only track to appear in 3 games, and somehow have better graphics in the very first game it appeared in. Daisy Cruiser is just not all that interesting, and they didn't change anything from the Mario Kart 7 version. Amsterdam Drift is just another annoying tour track, and I really wish they just didn't add so many city tracks, because none of them are really that great. Mushroom Gorge is honestly kind of overrated, and looks very plasticky, and they just didn't do anything new to it. Madrid Drive has a lot of the same problems as Singapore Speedway, but is at least a little bit drivable, but still pretty annoying. Toad Harbor is really chill, but just very boring, and I feel like after I played it 5 times, it was extremely old. Bowser's Castle just doesn't seem to be doing anything new. It's all been done before, and it's a little bland. Royal Raceway is one of my best friend's favorite tracks, so I've played on this track way more than I want to, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. Electrodrome is extremely overrated and very forgettable. Sky Garden is way too short and does not look anything like the last 2, and I'm really not sure why they changed up the color scheme. Bone Dry Dunes is, as the name would imply, very boring and not a whole lot of activity is going on. Mario Kart Stadium is sort of supposed to be simple and boring because it's the first track in the game, and I guess it's just impressive that it's above at least 25 other tracks. This was a very misguided attempt at recreating a classic course. This was an incredibly misguided attempt at recreating a classic course. It's at least a somewhat faithful representation of a course, but is way too narrow. Toad Circuit is genuinely one of my favorite DLC tracks, but I have to admit that it is pretty bland. This is honestly a really stupid idea for a course, and it looks like they just stuck together a bunch of things and hoped it would work. I really don't know why people like this one. It just looks so goofy, and I think it's just so lame. Peach Gardens is alright. I guess the third lap being different is kind of cool, but also ultimately pointless. Bangkok Rush is a very uninteresting course, and for some reason you keep on looping back through the same area like multiple times, even within one lap. Rome Avanti is just very monochromatic, and it's also a little jarring to see all of these Mario characters in a place where they obviously would not fit. Piranha Plant Cove is a really cool idea, and I wish they did a lot more of these original courses in the DLC waves. It's just that the layout is not that great, and a lot of the textures are just clashing with each other. Yoshi's Island is a really good looking and interesting idea for a course. I just wish they made it a little bit longer and didn't have so many of those steep sections where you can't see what's in front of you. Athens Dash has that problem tenfold. There are so many steep sections where you can't see what's in front of you, and it's really just difficult to enjoy the course. Rosalinda's Ice World is honestly a really good course, but just way too narrow at parts. Riverside Park, again, has this issue of textures just not matching up with each other, and I'm really not sure why they decided to make all of the water in the sky yellow. The DS's Mario Circuit is honestly one of the better ones, but it just feels a little short, and after the halfway point, there's really not a whole lot going on. Merry Mountain has some genuinely cool turns and twists right at the beginning, but then the second half is just a straight line. DK Summit is a pretty fun track to play on that I just wish they did more with. The ground of this track looks like shit, and shit bricks, and shit planks. Daisy Circuit is way too narrow, and the gliding section is just not programmed correctly, so you just have a way too steep descent, but I'm really glad that they added this track. LA Laps is probably my favorite city course in terms of the layout, but I guess it's just not all that interesting, and the graphics in some areas are just awful. Mario's Gold Mine is really fun, but they just nerfed it a lot from the Wii version, so it's really not that difficult. Paris Promenade is without a doubt my favorite city track. Bowser Castle 3 is sort of the point where I start to like these tracks. It's a really cool reimagining of a SNES track, and I honestly have a lot of fun playing on it. Wreck-It Ralph. Moonview Highway is a really cool remake, but it just doesn't seem as chaotic as the Wii version. Sunshine Airport just doesn't seem to have a whole lot going for it, even though I really do love the concept. I don't mean to be that guy, but I wish they added Broken Pier instead. I was extremely disappointed to see that they removed the day-night cycle, but I'm still very happy that my favorite GBA track is here. Koopa Cape is only mildly disappointing, to be honest. I'm really not sure what they could have done to make it a whole lot better. Baby Park is honestly not that bad. I think anybody who complains about this course takes the game way too seriously. I miss the sterile aesthetic that the first two versions of this course had, but I still really enjoy seeing it in the game. Maple Treeway is honestly very fun, I just get bored of it pretty quickly. This course is honestly way too fun, and I'm not sure why it's so interesting and unique for how basic and simple it is. Snowland is honestly really well put together and looks amazing, and I'm really glad to see it. Dolphin Shoals is just a classic. Cloudtop Cruise has some really fun parts, and I love the music. Can you believe they made a track based on the most breedable Mario character? Can you believe they made a track shaped like the most breedable Mario character? Comment down below if you liked Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild better. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. This course looks really plasticky too, but I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of nostalgia bias here. I remember as a kid, whenever I would have a bad day, I would just boot up Shroom Ridge and put it on 150cc and watch all of the CPUs run into cars. Shy Guy Falls might be one of the coolest uses of the anti-gravity mechanic, and it's just a really fun track to play on. Tick-Tock Clock is an amazing reinterpretation of a classic track. Toad's Turnpike is a really chill and relaxing course. Yes, I love smoking weed. Wario Stadium has so many fun twists and turns and tricks, and it's just such a solid course all around. It's not just a boulder, it's a rock. Calamari Desert might be one of my favorite DLC tracks because they actually did something new and interesting to a returning track. The Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit is easily my favorite one just because it's so fun to play on, the music is so great, and the turns are so fun. Animal Crossing is a really cool track, and I love that you can play it in 4 different seasons. My favorite artists are the Smashing Pumpkins, Radiohead, King Gizzard, and the Lizard Wizard. Ice Ice Outpost is a very underrated track. I really don't know why people don't like this. I think the intertwining tracks are so cool, and it's just so fun to go from one to the other. Dry Dry Desert is visually stunning and has amazing music, and I really love the Koopa Sphinx in the background. SNES Rainbow Road is the ultimate test of skill, and I think people who don't like this track are just not that good at the game. It's visually amazing, and the music is awesome, and the background is so detailed. Moo Moo Meadows is one of the most gorgeous looking tracks, and it's just so calm and relaxing, and such a great vibe. Mute City is one of the most hype tracks, and I love how fast paced it is. A lot of times this course can be really chaotic, but it never really seems to get that much in the way of my enjoyment. This is far and away the best DLC track, and I was so excited to see that my favorite track from my favorite Mario Kart game was returning into this game, and that they actually pulled it off. Is this better than the original? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just glad that it's here. Sherbet Land has a really nice flow to it. Each part of the track just blends in really nicely with the next part. Mount Wario is just epic, and I think it's an example of a 3-part track where the laps aren't repeating and it's actually done correctly. Wild Woods is insanely fun, and I love how much it twists and turns and how difficult it can be at first. Piranha Plant Slide is also really fun, and I love the music. A Lakitu themed track? Are you kidding me right now? Finally, they made a track based on my favorite Mario sex toy. Cheap Cheap Beach is honestly one of the best remakes. I just think it's so faithful to the DS version, and I love it so much. Excite Bike Arena gets way too much hate. It's such a fun track, and I love that it's different every time you play it. Donut Plains 3 is probably one of the most peak Mario Kart tracks in existence. I love that there's only 2 spots to get items, so you really have to rely on good racing and good drifting to do well in this course. DK Jungle is incredibly fun. The music is amazing, the aesthetic is great, and I just love the track design and the layout, and it's one of my favorites, obviously. Grumble Volcano is pretty much fun for all the same reasons that DK Jungle is. A lot of people hate this track, and I really don't get why. I guess it's because it's pretty difficult, and a lot of people are just bad at the game. It's one of my favorite tracks. I love all the twists and turns, and I love the music. Big Blue might be objectively the best track in the game, but just subjectively not my number 1 favorite. I love this track so much. I think it has the best music of any track in the game. I love how fast-paced it is and how many twists and turns there are. It feels like a big payoff when you really practice at this track and get really good at it. Neo Bowser's City is my favorite track of all time, and it's pretty easy to see why. It's got everything that I've mentioned so far. It has an amazing track layout, it has amazing music, it's got great graphics, beautiful aesthetic. I love it so much. I know I say a lot of stuff, but this is definitely a hill that I will die on. Neo Bowser's City is the best track in the game. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to join the Discord server, and I will see you guys in the next one.